Hello folks, welcome once again to my channel. Today I'm going to talk about a very interesting topic, and it's about one of the biggest controversies that One Piece has had in recent months, the Domy Reversey, or rather its weak point. I want to explain how this ability works, and especially focus a bit on the Domy Reverie of Rocksteady Zebec, since in God Valley some very curious things about this transformation were shown that remained a bit in limbo. The ending of chapter 1176 of One Piece left the fandom very divided. For some it was complete garbage the way everything happened with the Domy Reversey, and for others, myself included, it was the best that could have been done with this power. But where does all the controversy come from? Is it because of the false sacrifices? Because of inconsistencies with the Domy Reverse in God Valley? Or did people expect something more complex to undo this ability? Most likely, it's a bit of everything. Everything started with the supposed sacrifice of Dorry and Brogy, deaths that many people wanted to happen, so that the new generation of giant warrior pirates could take control. But I feel this is just a pretext for the real reason behind the dissatisfaction. The fact that death reverses the Domy Reverie actually makes a lot of sense because of something we had already seen before, which I'll talk about in a moment. What really seems to bother people is how simple it is to undo this technique. You simply have to kill them. That's it, everything ends. But that's precisely the secret of why it's so effective. To not go too far, when IMU transformed the giants into demons, the rest of the normal giants didn't want to hurt them because, after all, they are still their friends. For that reason, Hadruden and Stanson asked Zoro to hold back while fighting them. In short, they were not trying to kill their friends who were under the control of the Domy Reversey. They wanted to keep them alive to find a way to return them to normal. And that is why the Domy Reverie was so effective. The only way to undo the technique was to kill them, something they refused to do. The sacrifice of Dorry and Brogy served to reveal the weak point of the Domy Reversey. Now, in God Valley, we had already seen someone return to normal after a Domy Reversey. The legendary pirate Rocksteady Zebec returned to normal, although it didn't help him much because they were already waiting to kill him. So yes, that means that the attack by Roger and Garp actually killed Zebec, since that is the only way to undo the Domy Reversey. But there is something even more curious that is also being criticized by the fandom, because for some it makes no sense. I'm talking about the massacre of the Davy clan, who had turned into demons of the Domy Reversey, at the hands of Rocksteady Zebec himself. According to Zebec himself, he killed the members of his own clan because they had fallen under the enemy's power. That would be a huge inconsistency if we consider the only way to undo this cursed power. If Zebec killed the members of the Davy clan while they were transformed into Domy Reversey demons, they should have returned to normal. As a consequence, he should have seen them already normal. So what happened to those members of the Davy clan? Did Zebec not know that by killing them they would return to normal, and he simply left them there thinking it was already over? Was this taken advantage of by some god's knights who finished killing them for real afterward? Or something even more radical? What if Zebec killed them again after they returned to normal, in order to prevent the enemy from turning them against him once more? Considering Zebec's nature, that is something he could definitely have done. In fact, let's recap Zebec's dialogues in chapter 1162 of the manga. First of all, Zebec didn't know about the Domy Reversey, since he was wondering what had happened to them, and if it was caused by someone's ability. There is also something key he told his wife. If someone with the Davy surname is captured, those people will torture them to such a point that the idea of being in hell will seem like the best possible fate. And the final dialogue after he exterminated the Davy clan: before they try to capture my family to kill them, make it clear that I will be the one who kills them first. What does all this tell us? Most likely Zebec did kill the members of the Davy clan while they were under the Domy Reversey, and that's when he discovered how to undo the demonic transformation. By killing them in that form, they returned to their normal state. But the story doesn't end there. To prevent the enemy from capturing them again and torturing them as he had explained to his wife, he chose to kill them himself, now for good, while they were already back in their normal forms. He accepted that burden. He preferred to give them a quick death, rather than the suffering the enemy would have inflicted on them. There is also something very curious about when Zebec transforms into a demon. From the beginning, he kept insisting to Roger and Garp that they should kill him. He kept telling them the same thing telepathically over and over again. At that point, it seemed like he preferred death rather than being under the enemy's control. But with the latest revelations, what if Zebec was asking them to kill him because he already knew that it was the only way to undo the Domy Reverie and return to normal? As I mentioned earlier, He could have discovered this when he killed the members of the Davy clan, and Garling, who was present during that massacre, and who also received a beating there, saw how Zebec discovered all this about the Domy Reversey. That is why he could have been waiting for him when the battle with Roger and Garp ended, ready to deliver the final blow in case Zebec had returned to normal. But well, many people expected something more complex to undo the Domy Reversey, such as a powerful conqueror's haki, since Roger and Garp possess some of the strongest haki. Some even expected a combination of two good hakis to follow the pattern with the Goko board, which was used to show how someone could transform into Domy Reversey. Oda went with something simple, and many people didn't like that. Lately, the fandom tends to overthink things with very complex explanations, but in the end it often turns out to be something simple. The more complex something is, the more people think it's better, when something simple can have the same impact. In fact, in this case it might even be better. We already have the Immortals who require advanced Conqueror's haki just to damage them, and very few characters currently possess this kind of haki. But that's not all. To kill them right now, only Loki has shown the power to do it. Not even Roger's pirates, who fought many times against the gods' knights, were able to kill any of them, only defeat them with Conqueror's haki. Loki, on the other hand, did kill an immortal who also had Conqueror's haki. He was far superior to the ones Roger's pirates fought against. So the people who have made pacts with IMU are already special enemies that require specific conditions to fight against. If the Domy Reversey had been placed in that same category, it would limit the fights to only Luffy or characters with advanced Conqueror's haki, completely leaving the rest of the Straw Hat crew aside. Right now, only Luffy and Zoro could face them. The rest wouldn't stand a chance even in their dreams. That's why the weak point of the Domy Reversey shown in the latest chapter is actually good for the story. It removes some of the burden from the characters who possess Conqueror's haki, allowing them to focus on the enemies that truly require advanced Conqueror's haki to defeat. Right now, the responsibility of facing the God's Knights and the Gorosei is already falling almost entirely on Luffy. Imagine if the Domy Reversey had the same weakness as the God's Knights. Luffy can't do everything alone. Responsibilities need to be shared instead of letting just one character handle everything. As always, you can leave your opinions in the comments. Thank you very much to everyone who made it to this part of the video. Any recommendations for future videos or ideas for the channel can be left in the comments, and I'll gladly take them into account. Don't forget to follow me on all my social media, since there you'll be able to stay updated with general One Piece news and updates about the channel. See you in the next video. Goodbye.